For the people at home who don't understand it, basically they're like, why is Conor not fighting? So Conor has 2 fights left on his fight deal, but the UFC is trying to renew their rights deal because they license their content, which are the fights, to platforms. So they're trying to renew their deal with, they're negotiating multiple people, but let's say it's going to go with ESPN. They're trying to renew the deal and get him the most amount of money.
Dana White debunks Jake Paul's conspiracy theory when it comes to Conor McGregor's return.
I got to ask you about one of the legends of UFC, Conor McGregor. He's looking to make a comeback this year, had the injury. He's done a ton for this sport, obviously. He's been a megastar, you know this, and fans have been wondering about his return. When is it going to happen? And can he still compete at a high level? In your eyes, from somebody who knows him, does McGregor still have that hunger?
Well, let me tell you this. I was the one this year saying, I don't think he's going to fight this year. I missed all the talk and everything else. Even the fight being set up in the press conference, Conor McGregor will fight next year, early 2025. As far as he's had so much time off. As far as the hunger, I mean, he's a very wealthy guy. We'll find out. We'll find out when he comes back. But he is definitely one of the big superstars of the sport that elevated, the UFC all throughout Europe and other parts of the world. He's been a big star and a great partner for us.
Dana White names his Mount Rushmore of MMA fighters. Speaking with ESPN ahead of this weekend's UFC 306 event, Dana White was asked to name his Mount Rushmore of MMA fighters. Now, Dana has been in charge of the UFC since 2001 and was previously working as a manager for some of the sport's biggest stars. Detailing his reasonings for the picks, White made a jokingly aggressive point of naming Jon Jones as his first choice. Dana has been notorious in recent months for his insistence on letting fans know that he views the former light heavyweight and current heavyweight champion as the greatest fighter in the world.
And listen to me, I'm not defending Jon Jones. You know what I mean? Jon Jones has been one of my biggest fucking headaches in the entire time that I've been in this company, right? And the guy hasn't been the model, fighter in the company. No matter what you think of Jon Jones, he's the fucking best ever, and he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. And he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world.
Yeah. Well, except that he hasn't fought in the last year, so he's not.
Because he got hurt. He got injured.
But if you don't...
If you were coming into a fight and you fucking got hurt, that means you're not the pound for pound best fighter in the world anymore? How does that even make sense? It doesn't make sense.
When he fights...
Right? If he was sitting out and fucking getting arrested and running around or whatever, and you're like, well, Jon Jones is inactive, I'd say, maybe you're right. But as an educated adult who knows the fight business, you cannot deny that while Jon Jones is active...
Here's Dana's pick for his Mount Rushmore, and at the end, we're going to tell you what the real Mount Rushmore of MMA should look like.
Got to go with Jon Jones. You have to go with Ronda Rousey. Women would not be fighting in the UFC if it wasn't for her. You would have to put GSP in there, and absolutely positively Conor McGregor. He elevated and changed the game globally.
Now that Dana has told you his Mount Rushmore, let us tell you what the real Mount Rushmore of MMA should look like. This should not be up for debate. The first and only person that you need to have in the #1 spot is Royce Gracie. He revolutionized the sport. He is the reason, and the Gracie family is the reason we have a sport. Next, it should be Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell was the first MMA fighter to bring the UFC into the mainstream. When the UFC struck its first deal with ESPN, it was because of fighters like Chuck Liddell. Next, it should be Anderson Silva. And yes, I know, Anderson has had his fair share of controversies throughout the years, but watching Anderson fight for over 10 years, there was nobody, and I mean nobody, who could touch him. He was undefiably the greatest fighter probably ever in the sport. Next, you have to go with Conor McGregor simply because of his cultural impact on the sport. This is the true and only Mount Rushmore of MMA. Tell me where you agree or where you disagree in the comments below.
We need to get that title back for the normal people, man. This game to have the belt now. Normal. First time I've ever seen heard like African game. You know? When are you? Comes up. When are you? I'm home, bro.
Hamzat Chimaev claims he will win the UFC middleweight title for, quote, the normal people as he blasts Dricus du Plessis. DDP's next title defense will likely come in a rematch against Sean Strickland after Strickland turned down a fight against Robert Whittaker and decided to bide his time and wait for the next title fight. UFC CEO Dana White recently admitted that Strickland will likely fight Dricus du Plessis next, with the promotion targeting South Africa for the champion's next title defense. With that, Boers is hopeful that DDP holds on to the title and he will earn a title shot with the win over the Reaper, vowing to win the title for the normal people. Henry Cejudo claims Sean O'Malley is having issues in his training camp. Former UFC champion Henry Cejudo has been embroiled in an ongoing feud with Sean O'Malley for several years, with it typically being Sugar getting the upper hand thanks to his quick-witted comebacks.
A man that needs no introduction, the most colorful man right now in the octagon, one of the most dynamic, and right now the current bantamweight champion of the world, Sugar Sean O'Malley. O'Malley!
Boys, you guys know I'm a very, very busy man. I'll keep this short. I came here for 2 reasons. 1, praise you, Kamaru. You're an absolute legend. And 2, Henry, how'd you let Aljo take you down so easy? You're welcome!
That played out once again this week when O'Malley appeared as a guest on Kamaru Usman and Cejudo's Pound for Pound podcast for all of about 20 seconds before flipping his phone and leaving for training. Training that, according to Cejudo, isn't going great in one particular area: defensive wrestling.
Roll the damn tape. I think he's still a little. I think he was shook. I think at that time, I literally became public enemy #1. So I'm not surprised. I figured some things like this were gonna happen. But you know what I love about it though too, Kush, is the fact that he loses this fight with Merab Dvalishvili. I do believe, and I am planning on going to flyweight, unless I'm gonna make it public here too, guys. I am planning on going to flyweight. I've started my diet. I'm gonna do everything right, and the only reason why I even want to do that is because the more disciplined that I have to become, the more I gotta pretty much, reach that new height of discipline. But there's one fight, and I'm gonna go back to this. I think the fight between me and Sean O'Malley, Ronald McDonald makes a lot of sense, dude. And I think we could do it here in Phoenix. That's the only fight at 135 pounds, and that would give me quicker to the title shot at 135 pounds. So I would still love that. But that being said, he doesn't know how to get off of bottom. He's having trouble. I've had training partners. I have 3 training partners that have gone out there. That's all told me the same shit. Just like when I'm injured, he always knows. He's tweeted out. I was like, hey, when I lost to Merab Dvalishvili, he knew that I was injured. That's what happens when you live in the same city. Is people know other people that will say shit. So he knew that my groin was torn. You can go back and look at the Twitters. Or you can go back and look at when I lost to Merab. He's like, hey man, that wasn't Henry. Henry was, and Henry had a torn groin. And obviously you knew Kamaru. But that being said, dude, I think it's a match made in heaven for a guy like Merab. He just needs to be careful in those 2 rounds. And as the fight goes on, I could see Merab Dvalishvili fucking taking him out.
That's a lot said there. But as far as going into,
am I a snitch? Am I a snitch, Kamaru?
But no, I Henry, I would have to. Based on what I've seen from Sean, he just fought a 5-round fight. He took Cheeto Vera to 5 rounds and was still piecing him up all throughout the whole fight. As much as I love Cheeto, he just didn't put his best foot forward, and Sean had his way. And I understand.
On his feet. No grappling.
Yes.
Might as well fight Muay Thai.
Okay, but would you consider Aljamain Sterling one of the best grapplers in that one of the top grapplers in that bantamweight / a featherweight division?
Yeah. He's proven that. He's able to take.
Yes, and Aljamain can get him down. And he was able to find that shot with Aljamain. Before that, had we ever seen Aljamain sniped with a good shot like that? Really never seen that. And he was able to find that shot. Now, you're comparing that to a guy like Merab, who Marlon Moraes found the shot. You found a good shot against him. You don't think Sean O'Malley will be able to find that shot?
He can, I mean, well, and that's the key for him. Could he find that shot early to put him out? But if he doesn't, yeah, I will say this, and I will give Sean credit in that sense. He is a sniper. He is super long, but I just don't see him, and I just don't see, unless Merab gets crazy, unless he says what he says he's gonna do and stay on his feet, then that's just not gonna be good for him. You know, because I think Merab's greatest weapon. I mean, I think Sean's greatest weapon now is that knee. It's the same knee that he caught Chito Vera with. All the other stuff is just like sniping, but his movement gets him tired, things like that. But regardless, if he is able to, if more likely, the probability is I'm hoping this motherfucker loses because now there's a show.
Well, yeah.
Because now there's a showdown between me and him, and you know what? We can settle it in the best way, and that's fighting.
And that does it for today's video, but make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification so you can get notified every time we release a new video. And in case you missed it, check out yesterday's news.